Yo, 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 no maniacs. Welcome to the show. This is Nomad Live, all bears all the time. In here with my guy FFG style, super no maniac up in the building. And today we want to talk about, it's a bunch to talk about. Of course, the Bears Vikings 2 preview, that and all that. We'll talk about all that. But I think what's really gassing up the fan base right now is it sounds like this leak's coming out of Halas Hall, if it's to be believed. Now, what we're going to talk about tonight are some stories. It's a story actually from the Chicago Tribune. Now, I'm not going to tell any of you guys what to believe. I'm just going to tell you what I think of it all. I'll give that to you in earnest. And I'll just, we'll leave that there and we'll respect each other's points of view. But it's a lot of leaking going on in Halas Hall. And, we had a leak previously about Ryan Poles and his, uncomfortability of being in a position where there's an in-between guy in between he and George McCaskey. And that's kind of not what he signed up for. We had all that story. We'll get to that. And the newest leak that's out, and we'll talk about all that. But first, man, let me pass it on to my guy FFG real quick for some pleasantries before we get started.
What up, yo, no maniacs? I see Marco King in the building. It's Crimson, you dig, Mr. Mayhem. Long-time fans. Love y'all, fellas. It seems like the ship is not as tight as it used to be. So that's kind of where we're at today and finding out what's kind of real and what's just speculation, I guess, if you want to call it that.
And that's pretty much what it is. And I'll lend my particular credence to whatever the reports are. And I'll be transparent, open, and honest with you guys about what I think of any reporter. We're very good acquaintances with several reporters out of Halas Hall. You know the names. And there's other ones, man, that don't sit well with me for a whole bunch of different reasons. It goes back to before I was a podcaster and just reading everything from the outside, getting the news reports, reading the newspaper and anything that's out there. When you're on the outside looking in, there's a certain perspective that you can bring to the table. But once you kind of get in, is kind of what we are right now. We're part of the reporting business too, just in a third hand perspective. You got Halas Hall, you got the reporters, and then you got all of us on the outside kind of, giving you a third hand person's point of view. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight in earnest, man. I don't like the stuff that I'm hearing coming out of Halas Hall, but let me just say this. There was one particular story that came to a conclusion, and hold on while I switch up the screen. I'm gonna switch it up right quick. Hold on, I'm talking out loud while I'm thinking. And I'm doing this because I want to make sure my guy FFG style gets his just due, man. We got my guy FFG style, who is a super no maniac, and he deserves the same respect as my guy Petty Murphy, aka Black Diamond, got last week. So I hooked it up for him, man. Shout out to you, FFG, for coming on and wanting to do the show. So little do people know, FFG style is such a diehard fan. I can't get this guy to be quiet about the Bears. He don't quit. He just called me and we talk about Bears until I'm blue in the face. Yesterday, I was really trying to unplug from the Bears universe, just trying to get my mind a rest because I do this stuff around the clock. And he was going, man. I was just like, you know what, FFG, it's time to do a podcast. You need to do a podcast because you got a lot of stuff to talk about. And so let's just talk about it on the surface. What do you think about, we ain't going to get into particulars, FFG. First of all, how you been, man? Secondly, yeah, you're right. I think the stuff doesn't sound really good right now, but it's some particular things that we need to talk about. So how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I try to get Christmas done and out the way. So I told you next 2 weeks, actually 3 weeks, I ain't trying to do a goddamn thing but eat and watch some football and chill at the house. Because I got some time coming off for the holidays. And I'm letting my beard grow out because it's cold as a mug here. So I ain't worried about shaving no time soon. Just call me the woolly mammoth because it's cold as hell outside around here.
It's getting pretty chilly around here. I can't really complain the weather. I mean, the last couple of days, he had the wind blowing along with the cold. So it was like that kind of thing. It was like probably 14 degrees out. And with the wind blowing, you probably felt like it was below zero out there. It was tough, but that's that's what it is out there. Here's one story I do want to talk about, FFG, and that's this. Take that down, put this up. This story here, I got up this morning watching Bears radio, in particular 670 The Score, and watching the host talk about this. There's a lot of people out here that seem to be pretty irritated by the fact that there's a report out there that the Bears didn't even attempt to reach out to Bill Belichick. Why do I have Bill Belichick on here with all these guys, these characters right here? Is because this is what's being reported as, I guess, the intel search party as to where to go and what to do next. Is Bill Belichick, my guy Matt Patricia right there with the pencil in his mouth, Mike Lombardi, and of course, what I can't think of his name, McDaniel. Yeah, and so this is the committee he's working with, and out there putting the feelers out, and I'm just gonna say this, and I'm gonna keep it light before I pass to FFG. What is the Patriot way? What does that mean? And is it even valid right now? All I know is these guys right here on the screen have had opportunities. They've been successful, but that whole thing to me is it's a bygone era. I guess that's the best way to put it, FFG. And maybe some people won't like what I have to say, but I'm kind of glad they're in North Carolina. Well, Bill Belichick's in North Carolina, not in Chicago, because I don't know if I have the patience to sit and see what Bill Belichick would do to this team just to get to where he wants to get to with this roster. I know he'd tear it down. And so that's just where I'm at with it. I'm glad that Bill Belichick got a job. He deserves a job, but I'm glad this situation didn't pop off in Chicago for a few different reasons.
I'm going to tell you like this. The Patriot way would not work in Chicago, especially in press conferences, because he can get away with that BS in New England, but he couldn't come on stage and be like, we play good, and we're doing that. And they eat him alive, and he'd have to really go off on people, and that's not his style. So I don't think he'd be able to take the pressure because there was none in New England. They had no history of winning or nothing. They got to the Super Bowl in the 80s, but ever since then, they was just an average team. They was like the Bucs for so many years. They was marginal until he finally came in there, and it took him a decade or so to turn that franchise around with a lot of draft picks that they had. And his disciplinary style, because he's a Navy man, it wouldn't work in today's society. These kids are well educated enough, and the internet and technology gives them access to more information than they ever did back when he was running the team. As Tom Brady, he spent his whole career trying to please that guy, becoming one of the best quarterbacks that ever lived, and still couldn't get his admiration because he was just one of the players. And a lot of people won't go for that, And to call it the team way or the Patriot way, if you notice, everybody but him flopped as a coach as soon as they left. All of them was terrible because they needed the super genius who could diagnose every team every week and design a perfect game plan to stop everyone. Because they really didn't have to score an offense. They shut people down, and the offense scored just enough for them to win until they actually got quality pieces on offense, where then they were just kicking people's behind. That took 15 years for that to happen. We ain't got that kind of time.
Yeah, I think the key word to it is time, patience. Do the Chicago Bears fans have that? I think it's not that this guy hasn't been successful, and what he does, he can do well. The thing is, these guys individually, all these guys here have fallen flat. I'm talking about all the guys beneath Bill Belichick here on this image. All of them have fallen flat without Bill Belichick. Every last one of them. In particular, McDaniels, man, he has completely shredded teams. Anywhere he's gone, man, he's completely tore up the dynamic, and they had to hurry up and get rid of him. And now that's one thing. Now, to give him some kind of credit for whatever reason, when they're together, previously in New England, they all function well together up until that last year or so. when when Belichick decided that he didn't need an offensive coordinator, he'd have a defensive coordinator run the whole thing. This guy with the pencil in his mouth. And I thought that was it was not only I would just say it's interesting, me being a football person, knowing, the dynamics of football, I can understand I guess I can understand what he was thinking. You can teach a quarterback how to see the game through the defensive coordinator's eyes and maybe make that quarterback better versus getting the offensive guy and doing it that way. I get that. I understand that. I think it makes sense to an extent. I think, but having that guy as the full-time offensive coordinator for a struggling quarterback, that obviously didn't turn out well. Number one, and I think there's a certain amount of arrogance that came with that. That's one thing. Here's the other thing. I don't know that Bill Belichick is the person to come inside of a already shaky Halas Hall, and he would demand pretty much all control. For the most part, FFG, he'd come in there like, I need to control football operations. And they've got a situation going on as it is that they're probably 50-50 on right now and willing to give Ryan Poles another chance. But to have Bill Belichick come in here and possibly tear down everything just to get what he wants, I don't think the fan base, I think the fan base was done a favor by him not being interviewed and him not getting that job, because I'm telling you, as a podcaster, I wouldn't have wanted to deal with all the crying and complaining that would have came after he tore down this roster to rebuild it. I'm telling you, it would have been a massacre, man. And I don't know. I just don't think that would have went well 100%.
I just don't see the power struggle that we have now being conducive to even allowing him to come in the building and create more ripples and more strife than we already have, because you're seeing it's coming to a head and the season ain't even over yet. And the one person that shouldn't be really involved in any press conference or anything having to do with football on the field is too busy trying to repair the organization in the wrong way, or in my opinion, that he needs to go about it and say, hey, look, you got the job, you do the job. And if you can't do the job, then we need to discuss some things. So until that happens, the power vacuum that we have will stay blocked and clogged, and and just like you trying to vacuum up your carpet and your vacuum cleaner don't work worth a damn, because all you hear is suction, but you don't hear nothing coming up out the carpet. And that's what we have right now. Instead of it being a smooth operation where all the crap is getting sucked out and looks nice and clean and is organized.
So I want to say this too. With all respect to anybody that's gotten multiple rings, he has quite a few. How he got them, that's a whole other story. And I've already said too much on previous podcasts about what I think about that, because I do know people that's been in the building with Bill Belichick, and they're friends of mine. I don't do no name dropping on the show. I don't ask none of them guys to come do podcasts with me, because they tell you the truth, they're assholes and they like to tell shit they shouldn't tell. But that's a whole other story. Anyway, but yeah, I the way he got him is always been questionable to me and always will be. But that doesn't take away his ability to coach teams, man. He's really good at what he does. I just think his way of doing it is outdated. And, that we'll just say that about Bill Belichick and move on. I'm going to pull this down and let's talk about let's get on the surface level of this matchup between the Bears and the Vikings, man. I think I was just looking at some film, FFG. Let me get us back on the screen, right? I was just looking at some film, and one thing I will say is the offensive line played better than it. That was one of its better performances. Let's start there. The offensive line played well, gave Caleb opportunities. It was probably not DJ, but one of Keenan's best games. And let's just start on the offensive side of the ball and what we saw. Nicely protected. That was, I think, Thomas Brown's first job as offensive coordinator, first game as offensive coordinator, rather. And it was done well, man. It was some variety to the offense. They got into 3 or 4 different sets, and they ran a whole bunch of stuff off of it. They used DJ well and a lot of motion plays and got a lot of stuff off of it, man. So they kept the defense guessing. Here's the thing: this time around, Minnesota has the advantage of a couple of games worth of game film to kind of crunch, versus what they had that first time around. And some people would say advantage defense, but let's just start on the offensive side of the ball. The offensive line played well, better than their average performance. What say you about that?
Yeah, I think they picked up the pressure defense because they weren't sure who was coming, but they stayed active feet. And so whoever did come, they were in position to catch a lot better than a lot of the games where it's straight up and we're just getting beat off the line by one player or two players because blocks are being missed. And the Minnesota game is the only game that we had this year where we weren't sure who was coming, so everybody was on their toes. And as soon as somebody came across the line of scrimmage, I was like, okay, now that's the person I got to hit. So, and then they actually did a lot of max protect, and they actually ran the ball effectively, which we haven't seen in the last 2 weeks. And that's another thing that helped us stay in that game and get us to overtime because they were able to run the ball. And you notice how we backed them off out of that shell when there was 7, 8, 9 people in the box. They start having to back up, and that's when we were able to pass on them because their zone is not nearly as good as when they're just torturing quarterbacks into mistakes. And that's the way to beat the Vikings on offense. You slow them down up front, and now you can dictate to them how you want to play.
I just loved, it seemed like it was well done. It was like they had the answers to the tests. You know what I mean? It's about as flat as I've seen a Minnesota defense play against an opponent all year. I've looked at quite a few of their games. In fact, I feel like the more the game went on, Brian Flores kind of backed off a little bit. It's like they found quick answers to the test. It's like that it was set up for that ball to get out of Caleb's hand fast. The route concepts and combinations were readily available, NFL open stuff for Caleb Williams. And I would say also that was one of those games where he had to throw the ball in tight windows. And that's the stuff NFL quarterbacks have to do. And he did that throughout the game. And I'm looking at Crimson's comment. He said, didn't we have 10 points until 7 minutes left in regulation? True. We were able to kind of move the ball around, but we weren't able to cash nothing in. That's just truth, man. Caleb had a pretty good game, but it was just, getting points out of the situation was the fault in the system, man. I don't know, looking back at all of it, I can't tell you everything that went wrong, but I tell you, just having 10 points into 7 minutes left in regulation, and based off what you've seen the quarterback do and some of the receivers do, something was off about that, man. I can't really call it, but what say you, FFG?
Oh, I can tell you, we had way too many penalties at the line. So we had a ton of holding calls. So we get positive yards on second down, holding call, or false start. Every time we had momentum, we went backwards. So every time we crossed the 50, and it wasn't like they racked up a lot of sacks. We have been playing this majority of this season, have shot ourselves in the foot consistently when we're moving the ball. And that is what is the biggest ailment, I think, of the Bears offense is, they're killing themselves. They're not getting beat by their teams. They're beating themselves. And so that happened a lot in that game where we'd have a nice drive going, penalty, or, even offensive passer. It was just a bunch of crap that kept pushing us back. And so we weren't, because we were always around the 40 to 38-yard line, penalty, knock us out of field goal range, so we punted a lot of that time in that game. If you go back and look at it, I still got it on tape. Trust me, I know. I kept looking at the other day. I was like, hey, we had all these chances and never even got attempting to get points. And so that's where we lost the game early, where they were getting across midfield and they weren't making mistakes to kill themselves, and they were getting in position to score. That's how we got behind. We didn't turn the ball over.
Yeah, I mostly agree with what you're saying. I'm just looking back. I'm thinking back now. It's like the last several weeks. It's been a lot of, a bunch of, shots in the foot. Just self-inflicted wounds. You know what I mean? From offsides to different stuff. Man, I can remember a critical play in the game where Cole Kmet dropped a wide open shot. You know what I mean? It was wide open and he just dropped it. And that's been something that's been current in the last couple of games. You need Cole Kmet to be better than he's been. And I'm not used to having to say that because Cole Kmet is pretty solid. But lately he's just been, I don't know, man. He's just like some of those guys are there and some of them aren't. And I don't really know what to make of it other than just can't call it, man. But one thing I do notice, man, and I noticed this. I'm going to preface this image I'm about to put up with this. You can see trends and watching several game films, you can see things that's happening. And I see not the Cole Kmet, but the Rome Odunze, Caleb Williams connection starting to emerge and really emerge. And I believe for this game, if you want to put me in a trick bag, FFG, and say, you know what, Nomad, give me one thing that needs to happen in this game that's going to make the difference. And I'll just start on the offensive side of the ball. And it would be these two dudes, they need to connect. And I think, why do I say that? It's because looking at the film, I almost can guarantee you Rome Odunze is going to be one-on-one majority of the game. I would say the vast majority of the game, number one. Number two is one thing that Caleb didn't do in that last game was take advantage of some of the one-on-ones that were available. It was some one-on-one shots that he probably overthought a little bit and didn't take the opportunities. And in a blitzing scheme that Flores runs, there's going to be several opportunities for him to take the shot. He just got to be able to find the one-on-one, identify it, and know that that's a one-on-one, take that shot. And so I want to see anywhere between 4, 5, 6 shots in this next game, one-on-one down the field, straight fly, communication between that receiver and him. Like, hey, I got this dude, throw the ball. But this is what I'm looking forward to. You can see this on the film. This is the connection between Rome and Caleb is definitely growing. You can see they got something going on, and it's just really young right now. FFG, that's what I would call it.
No, I think the development between quarterback and receiver for them two is finally starting to emerge. I think he's using DJ as the offset, where when he's open, I'm getting it to him. He tries to throw him in blocks, because I see how Thomas Brown has been calling these games to get DJ more involved, running game, whatever they can get him the ball. And then they're allowing Keenan to go be Keenan. Get open. I just need you 5, 6, 7 yards. Boom, I got you. You know what I'm saying? Rome is the person that needs to take advantage because what was his strength in college? He was the best 50-50 ball catcher in the league in college. So why not give him the opportunity at 6'4" to jump over these DBs as 5'11"? Even the safeties ain't his size. Put the ball up. Let him go make plays or get pass interference calls. That's how Minnesota beat teams. They don't always get the play down the field, but they get a crap ton of pass interference. If you notice, they get 50 and 40-yard plays, half the field. They ain't got to work hard. He just putting it up there. And they gotta do whatever they can try to do to stop that pass from being caught. And we need to start playing the same way. Put the onus on the defense.
One of the things that, looking at film, and this is just me, I don't even know if this is something that Caleb thinks about when he's when he sees one-on-ones. Like Rome isn't as savvy a route runner as he is for a rookie. He's one of the better rookie route runners I've seen. I've seen a lot of them play, man. It's like your Marvin Harrison Juniors of the world, man. I think Rome is in that category somewhere with rookie route runners and being savvy coming out of college. I think he's really good. I mean, really good, man. You don't expect to see rookies doing the things that he does out there. He reads the defense and adjusts his routes accordingly. It's really good stuff to look at on film, man. It's fun to watch him. Here's what I think. I think Caleb might be thinking this. I might be wrong, but I watched Rome Odunze. Let's just say he gets a one-on-one with a slot receiver, say. He gets a one-on-one route, and it's identified by Caleb. All right, this guy's one-on-one with Rome. Let me see if I can get him. It takes Rome. Rome's a long strider, right? And so Rome, let's just say he doesn't win early in a route, and he wins a little bit later in the route. Does that make sense? Like the instant the ball gets off, he gets off on his route. He's not really winning early. It's a lot of contact. There's a lot of, bump and press, and he gets away from it. He's really good at getting away from that coverage and creating a throw lane from the receiver. But I feel like Caleb is getting off that progression by the time Rome is open. So Rome seems like he's open later rather than early. He's not the most fleet-footed receiver in the world. There's quicker-footed receivers out there, and he just doesn't win early. He just wins like a couple, 2-3 seconds later. That makes sense to you?
Yeah, it's true. He doesn't use his hands as much to avoid press coverage, which he can do in the first 5 yards to get open, which Keenan does exceptionally well, which that's one thing I would like him to learn. But while we on the subject, the chat is blowing up, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Charles. Daryl Gibson's in the building. Crooked Commish. Saw Patty out there. Y'all keep coming in. Let us know how you feel. You know what I mean? So, because I think that we have a chance to beat the Vikings. The biggest difference in this game between the last game we played is going to be the surface, because they play much better on that turf than they do on grass. And that's why we had a chance to beat them on grass, compared to now we're going to have to really be on point on defense to slow them down, and on offense to really use that speed against them, where they're going to have to go deep to Rome. They're going to have to take advantage of DJ and to get open in the middle of the field with quick routes. They're not going to be able to wait, because it's going to have to be 1, 2, 3. And if you get the time like we had last time, that's where Rome is really going to excel down the field.
Yeah, he's got to get provided. If that means bring in extra tight end or two to get the protection, there's going to be opportunities for him to go down that field. And Rome is going to be likely the recipient of a lot of one-on-ones. I'm going to say that one more time. Rome is going to likely be the recipient of a lot of one-on-ones. And Caleb's going to basically need to trust him with a 50-50 ball at times. It's going to be some of those shots that's going to be seams down the middle coming out of a slot. And there's going to be times when he's out there on the hashes, and he's one-on-one with the boundary corner. You just got to see it and take the shot. Joe Burrow does this shit every game. It's not like he does some complicated stuff out here. He anticipates what he sees, and he takes a shot. He's confident when he throws it. And so what you see Caleb deal with early in his career, and I would just say in the last game, was it the last game or the game before, that he kind of came out of that, being confident in throwing his deep ball. He hit DJ on one, and I think that was, to me, it was like an icebreaker, because he was successful on one. And once you hit on one of those, you're going to want more and more and more of those. And so those have been there all year. You just got to throw them. You know what I mean? And trust your guy and go up and get the ball. But I believe those two, if the Bears are successful, it's going to be Caleb finding Rome one-on-one and being able to trust him and throw balls, sometimes in tight coverage and giving his receiver chances, and it's throwing up that 50-50 ball. I think that's the key to beating this team.
I also believe that, like last week, how they had Colin Johnson playing early, spread the ball around. You're going to need to throw them off their game, because they're going to be honed in on DJ and Keenan and Rome as the primary pass catchers, and they're going to look at Cole as an over-the-middle threat. But take advantage when you have other guys on the field. Make them respect the whole team, and I hope DeAndre's healthy this week, where he can get plays out of the backfield. If not, Darrell Evans needs to play, because I'm sorry, just don't do it for me. Yeah, he's great on special teams, but as far as running the ball, I just, blocking and getting open and quick short passes or even the screen game, I'd rather have Evans out there who's more like Mr. Concussion that we have on our team, part 2, that is, to be able to run through a lot of them tackles and get them tough yards. You know what I mean? Like, Roshan ain't playing. So I want to be able to see the ball being spread around. And that's one thing that you notice how Minnesota's been attacking people. Yep, they're going to double up Jefferson. They're going to be worried about him. But Addison going crazy on people on the other side.
Hold on. We're going to get on the defensive side of the ball. I'm just trying to keep to this subject here because,
I'm talking about offense. I'm just saying that's where Rome can excel because Addison is getting those easier looks, one-on-one matchups on the opposite side. So they're doubling up your star wide receiver. Let your secondary wide receiver, which really is Rome, or your possession receiver, which is Keenan, let them play the one-on-one matchups and be open and trust them more to make the plays and go nuts, especially downfield.
So the truth is, first I think DeAndre Swift had a hamstring something going on, and it was questionable whether he would play this week or not. And now it's about I think it's a growing issue, and depending on the severity of it, he didn't practice today. They had I don't know if today was. I think yesterday was a walkthrough, and today was a padded practice. Today, I believe that's the way it went today. They turned Wednesday into a walkthrough, call it walkthrough Wednesday, which is cool when they decide to pad up for Thursday. And I don't think he was a participant today. And, again, these guys like DeAndre Swift, he doesn't need a padded practice. Neither does a lot of these veterans need a padded practice. So I'm not too alarmed by that. And I'm hoping that he'll get right and be ready for a game. But in other news, we did sign a running back. And if you guys didn't see some extra sauce the other night, this is who we signed. He's on the practice squad. And it's Royce Freeman, 6 foot, 238. And, whether he's on the practice squad now, I don't know if he'd be activated for this game. And if Travis, it would take for them to, I guess, put a Travis Homer, which I doubt is going to happen. I don't think Travis Homer's going to the practice squad. It would take them to have to put Darrington Evans for us to see this guy on the field. But this is what they signed for insurance, was Royce Freeman, 6 foot, 238 pounds. I always felt like we needed a bigger, more physical back, to go through this, man. This is a blitzing defense, and you need some physicality to run through some of that, man. You know what I mean? And basically, he breaks an arm tackle or a one-on-one tackle. He could do some shit out there. I would just say that. But what say you about Royce Freeman?
No, you need power. He ain't the fastest guy in the world, but in space and between the tackles, he's a beast. He can get you 3 and 4 yards. And if you don't tackle well, he getting you 10 to 12 yards because he's tough to bring down. I feel you, Crimson. I miss Khalil too. But this is why you don't trade him away, because now I just knew that was going to be the case. Didn't play the guy. Now he's playing another team, and he's wasting away in another 4-8 team in Cincinnati where it don't really matter. So why didn't you keep him and kept that roster spot? And now he could be shining for you, with that speed and knowing the offense. So, yeah, but Royce Freeman is now because you don't have Roshan at the goal line. It's another reason why you bring him in you get close, battering ram. 6 points.
Yeah, I you know what? I got a strong indication, man, that I would just say my objectivity about Royce Freeman getting on his 53 this year is better than 50-50. A little bit better than 50-50. I'd say 60-40. He gets on the roster this week, and to the chagrin of probably Darrington Evans. I like Darrington Evans like a motherfucker. To tell you the truth, I really like Darrington Evans, and his running style suits, I think, what they like to do, and that's do a lot of motion, a lot of, motion pre-snap motion, and really try to get draw plays, those sprint draw plays, really, really benefit a really quick, fast guy that hits the hole really fast, like Darrington Evans does. So I can definitely see a role for him this week, but they're gonna need the extra pass protection. And you sign a big back like that. So when Travis Homer's not in there, DeAndre Swift's not a great pass protector, but he'll put his nose in there. But when if Travis Homer can't go, he get dings up some kind of way, and you need a pass pro situation, who's your next guy? This has got to be him. Darrington Evans can't do that. He's not. Him and DeAndre Swift aren't big enough to do that. When you need to go, when you need to go heavy and get extra pass protection out there. You got to do some things. You just need guys that are physically bigger than everybody else on your team. So I think there's a good chance he plays this week. What say you, FFG?
You know what? Homer stays dinged up, and when he plays, he's not effective. Now, I know there's a lot to be said about heralded special teams players. We've had a lot of them over the years, like DHC and players like that. But at least he would play on defense. Homer don't ever hardly play on offense unless somebody's hurt. And when he gets in the game, he's ineffective. So I'd rather put him on IR for the rest of the season. You're going to pay him anyway. Let this kid go in there and be your battering ram, because we have no idea if Roshan's going to play again this season. He in the same boat as Jaquan, always head first getting knocked out. So how long can you trust that? This kid is fresh, hasn't played very much. Let him get out there and go get some carries and run some folks over, because he's trying to earn a job. If nothing else, he's going to be running with heart, strength, power, and speed to the hole. And as soon as somebody come in, just level Caleb, he going to knock him out. With that frame, he's going to be able to hold up a defensive end or slow down a tackle or smoke a safety. So let this kid play, especially now. You got to think about it. Look at the games we're going to have. We're going to be outside after this week, every week of the rest of the season. We got 2 home games and a game in Green Bay. That's all outside the cold, where you need to be able to run the ball. That's another aspect people don't even think about. You don't want them little guys out there tiptoeing through the tulips. You need a battering ram. And why do you think Green Bay kept all them years? He wasn't a great running back, but when they needed power, they threw him out there to spell this now in Minnesota, because he stayed dinged up now. Aaron Jones. So they was putting Dylan in there. Bam! Like Aaron Jones sit out a series or 2. He come back in fresh and healthy. And boom, he back on track. So that's what we need to be effective. We need that thunder and lightning situation.
So everybody in here on this show will be able to vouch for me when I say this. I can remember Chris was still here. RIP to my guy, man. When Chris was still here, I remember him asking me this particularly. He said, "Nomad, what do you think coming into the season are the weaknesses, man?" And we were still in the off season, and this was, before they actually went out there and played ball. And I didn't see him address what I thought was they need probably a bit. We had Khalil Herbert, who is not known for his pass pro. So we needed a bigger, I think every team needs a battering ram for a running back, a bigger bruising guy, man, that when he gets up to speed, nobody wants to tackle him. He was really, Khalil Herbert's a physical runner, but he was not a physical pass protector. And I think that probably undid him in Chicago for the most part. If I had to guess something other than that, when you hand them the ball, you had to be pleased with what you got for the most part. But this guy is something that I thought we needed all the time. So I was always questioning the running back spot. And the other thing was the defensive line. I didn't think we got big enough on the defensive line in the offseason, and that's come to fruition as well. And so the 2 things that I talked about most often are these 2 spots right here, the running back spot and the D tackle spot, getting big enough on both sides of the ball. I just didn't think we did enough. And of course I talked about the O-line, but this was particular stuff that I talked about. And here we are this late in the season, finally figuring out we need a more physical, brutish back. We just do. We just need that. And I'm glad he's here. I can't wait to see what he can bring to the table Hopefully he makes it to the roster. But man, I'm so glad we made this signing. We needed it. We definitely need it. But I'm gonna take this down for a minute, and we'll talk about let me see here. Hold on. I'm looking. What do we need to be talking about next? Oh, we're gonna talk about the defensive side of the ball of the matchup. Okay, so what you saw in that game, let me just pass it to you. What really stuck out to you in that last game defensively that, like, I'll give you a little tip on what I saw that really hurt us is that our edge rushers didn't set the edge very well in the run. They just gave up the edge one too many times, and Aaron Jones and the like, tore off a couple of big runs when we didn't need them to tear off big runs. They did not set the edge. It came down to Darrell Taylor. And at times, I think it was even Montez Sweat, but we did not set the edge well in the run game, man. That was really telling in that last game.
So versus Vikings, I think we played more nickel, but it was an aggressive nickel where because they did pretty well in TJ for the most part, but their downfield zone was garbage on one side of the field, and we kept getting beat by everybody else. Justin Jefferson had 2 catches for like 18 yards, something like that, but everybody else 14, 15 catches for 200 and something yards and 2 touchdowns. That's what they was killing us. So they got to pick their poison. At some point, you got to be able to say, okay, JJ, go lock him up. You know what I'm saying? You got the speed. You got the pressure rate. You can keep up with him. I mean, he's not going to beat you deep most of the time, and we're going to have a safety over the top. Or sometimes you're just going to have to be a man. Go out there and play one-on-one defense and show him why you get $18 million a year. Same thing on the other side of the ball. Where this matchup zone, they don't even try. They just like, okay, you're not in my zone, and they're just stepping 2 yards past the zone, wide open. Because nobody's coming up, nobody's backing up. They're not even controlling the zone. They're standing in a spot instead of defending the field or defending a man. And that's what's bothering me the most about what they were talking about in the press conference. That, yeah, we used to be a top 5 defense, and ever since then it's been like, boo-doo-doo-doo-doo, because they're playing an area, not a man. And when a man comes in their area, they're not on the guy immediately, and they're not taking charge of the spot or the player or the part of the field they want to close off, in my opinion. That's what I noticed in that game.
Okay, so the couple things that was pretty evident looking at the film is, of course, I just said it, the edge rushers didn't capture the edge whatsoever when they needed to. There were times when they were really good at it, and then when it were critical downs and you needed to make sure that you didn't give up the edge to break off a long run, they gave it up. I seen Darrell Taylor, there's one play in my head that's really sticking out. Darrell Taylor was a part of that. He just got moved out of position. You can't give up that leverage. And I think it was one on the other side in particular with Montez Sweat. I want to say Montez Sweat, but I'm not sure. And just off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly who it was, but I think it was Montez Sweat. They gave up the edge in particular points of the game when they could not. And so they got beat in the fronts when they couldn't afford to get beat. You got to man it up and make sure you got your job done and take care of your business, and they didn't. That's one. It was two. Two is the next thing I'm about to say is going to be like, you FFG sitting in the chat listening to us do shows, you probably got to feel like sick to your stomach to hear me constantly keep saying this. The defense was too damn vanilla. I'm talking about the zones. It was so obvious. Like, all this got, it's like this. How many times, no maniacs, do I have to say that when you figure out that it's only wishful thinking in your head that you can get home with 4 people? At this point, it is wishful thinking in your head that you can get home with 4 people. It ain't been true all goddamn year. And at what point do you realize you need to adjust, simulate more pressure, instead of sitting back in a goddamn zone and I think zone defenses are going to be, at some point, they're going to get phased out, man, because these quarterbacks are too good at finding the holes in these concepts. 2, 3, 4, 6. All these concepts have holes in them. And the quarterbacks have gotten really, really good at figuring that out. You know who's really good at it? Jared Goff. You know who else is really good at it? Sam Darnold. They sit back there and find the lane. They wait until that receiver breaks into that little hole, and they throw that ball take the shot. And so I'm getting so frustrated with watching Eberflus, and I'm going to give Eric Washington some grace. It was his first time doing it. I'm giving Thomas Brown some grace too. It was his first time, especially Thomas Brown. But Eric Washington, I think he thought that he can do something that Flus couldn't do with 4, and sit in the zone and do something that Flus couldn't do. And he came up smelling, stinking. He couldn't do it. And I think that's what happened, man. I really believe he thought, okay, I saw the flaws in what Flus was doing in the zone concepts and why he couldn't get home with 4. I got this in mind. I'm gonna inspire these dudes and I'm gonna get home with 4. He tried it and he lost. Now how do you answer that? Figure out a way, get an answer, simulate more pressure. So that's what I saw, and that's my problem right now. They got to do better at that.
Nomad, the real thing that I notice is part of the zone concept that we run. The linebackers sit and wait. There's no we see run, we're attacking run. We're backing up, we're backing up every time and waiting to come up and rally. Instead, if I see the pitch is going outside or I see the blocking scheme that I've been watching in practice, I know they're running toss or they're waiting for the comeback. Let me go fill that lane. Shut this down. So in case my defensive end is getting pushed out or whatever, now I'm at that corner. Or now if it's forced back inside, I'm right there in that gap that's been open for the overshoot. Boom. Safety, same thing. So I think that interior shell between the safeties and the linebackers or the nickel corner, that is where we need to be way more aggressive because you can't sit and wait. Now, passing plays is a little different. Yeah, you might have to zone it off, or as soon as somebody comes in your zone, stick them. Tight ends or shuttle crosses, those kind of things. Yeah, hop on them. Don't just let them float through, because when you let them float through, they're going to run past you, catch the ball, and then you got to chase them. Which I never understood about the zone. If somebody step in your area, you hop right on their behind. So you ain't getting it. You know what I'm saying? Or if you see a pick coming, you take him, I got him. So that's where I see the communication failure as far as them being in this defense at least for 2 years. Most of them, some of them 3 years now. That is not being relayed in practice. Say, hey, look, when we see this, I know they all watching the same film. I know they're on the defensive huddle and meetings. Why is that not an emphasis on how to play this system? And that's where you can generate pressure because they know what's coming. Every single down, like you've been saying, there's no imagination for the offense to have to say, okay, well, this is a different look. I haven't seen this. Oh, no, this is just like Tecmo Bowl, A, B, C, or D. I know I got him with this play. It ain't hard. And the plays that worked every time. They couldn't stop.
It's actually frustrating to watch it, knowing that, I know what Eric Washington's thinking. I know what Eberflus is thinking. I know what's in his heart. I know what's in his mind. That all we have to do is stick with it, and we can get home with 4. You just gotta dial it up at the right time, get the right matchup. We get this guy. We'll have somebody come in here and kind of leverage over here to kind of throw the left tackle off, and then we can get home with this edge rusher. And time again, they keep coming up stinking. And we talking about there's only 4 games left in the season. At some point, somebody's got to say, you know what? We got to put our foot on the gas, and we can't worry about whether or not we can get home with 4 people. We're going to have to get home some kind of way. And if it's 5, 6 people we need to rush, we need to figure it out. and have these guys play coverage and just depend on our speed. That's what you got to do. You got to depend on the speed of the guys you got blitzing, whether it's TJ, Tremaine, you got Kyler blitzing, doesn't matter. You just got to depend on those guys getting there fast enough and depend on the backside being able to react to whatever happens beyond that. And that's just all it is to it. You have to have trust. You have to have trust that they can get home, number one. And two, maybe if you only send one, that's not the best thing to do. If you got an offset back there, he might pick up and slow up that blitzer. So send an extra on a delayed blitz. But do something. Do something. Just quit damn trying to do it with 4. That's all I know. Whatever they do Sunday or Monday, just quit trying to do it with 4. Because it ain't working. You got to figure out something. Send an extra man, delay one, and then send him. Just overwhelm him. That's the best thing you can do right now. I feel good about our backside. Jalen, Tyreek, and Kevin Byard in the back. And maybe you can pull back the strong safety. You can do this shit, man. It's just having the courage to do it. And I don't see the gumption to do it so far. But I'm not down on Eric Washington. He let me down this week. But let me see what he does this week, and I'll have a better assessment of what he's able to do with this defense.
Well, I feel you, Crimson. Tampa 2 was great for 10 years, and they're only as good as your 3 tech. Yeah, but what it doesn't say is your middle linebacker got to be a beast, and you have to have 2 quality edges on that as well. Because if you look at when Tampa was actually running it, they had one of the best defensive ends in the league on the opposite side of Warren Sapp. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like the 3 technique just was the end all be all and they had a bunch of bums outside. No, and they had one of the best corner / safeties out there as well that was patrolling the middle. Like we used to have Mike Brown was doing it for us. Just like we had Urlacher Brown, and then we had, what do you call it, from Oklahoma, Tommy Harris. That was that middle that was shored up. So it's not just one person, it's the whole line right up that middle that makes the Tampa 2 run. But we also had a Gunglier, and we had Alex Brown on the outside, on defensive ends that could stop the run and get to the quarterback. We were able to get pressure all up and down the line. It wasn't just one player. So, yeah, I'm really going to see what Washington does this week. And I want to see some of these hybrid fronts that haven't been pulled out, you know, that when we was watching all that tape of Buffalo a week ago or a week and a half ago, what happened to all that? You got the athletes to do it. Most of them dudes are standing up.
Here's one thing I will point out. And I was watching the defensive front aggressively and seeing exactly who the coordinator on the offense is prioritizing on our defensive front. And so what they seem to be doing is, so Javon Dexter's our 3 tech. And they don't have to double team Andrew Billings anymore. They can attack the 3 tech. And so they're double teaming our 3 tech. And we got, guys like Pickens and what's his name, number 93, expecting them to win. They ain't winning on the interior. They can take Javon Dexter completely out of the game. Without Billings there, they can take him completely out of the game in double teams. And ain't shit we can do about it. And that's a handicap right now. And that all that's due to the fact that we didn't do enough to fortify the defense, man. But they did make a move this week. And I'm gonna point this one out. And I said this. We showed this on some extra sauce. Let me move this around a little bit and show this. I was grateful to see. It's very, very grateful because this is something I thought we should have done a long time ago. And that's poach a practice squad player. And, get some size. We need some girth. We needed some girth a long time ago. The minute Andrew Billings and the second Andrew Billings got hurt, we should have done this. But, this is my take. I'm just a guy on the outside. I'm a layman. I don't know shit. I don't know football. But I think you win with size when you have a problem with people running the ball against you. This is probably something you should have did a long time ago. But, maybe Flus didn't ask for it because he was stubborn.
he thought he could work magic with what we had. And as soon as Billings went down, he should have said, okay, I messed up. Now I need to replace that size on the line. If nothing else, I needed them to double team. I'm a space eater. And they didn't do that. So, and they didn't even make the change to say, okay, you know, Pickens, you finally healthy. We won't let you play 3-tech. Let you go and do what you did in college and disrupt, and let Javon play the one on the other side, and let that be the line, and see how y'all could stack up against two monsters in the middle. Now your defensive ends are now able to have one-on-one options every play. So that could have helped your four getting to the passer every play, instead of you got two quality people on one side, one's getting a double team and one's getting blocked in a chip, and now the other two guys have to win one-on-one and they ain't winning, so they running that side, killing us. That's what I've seen. And linebackers is not filling the holes either. They playing back in zone. When the last time you seen linebackers coming downhill on a running play or even on a pass play where they're actually trying to get to the quarterback when it's not like an all-out blitz? You know what I'm saying? That's where I see the disconnect for calling the defense has been lagging for the last 2 months.
I remember watching a Ray Lewis. He was on Rich Eisen's show or something, and I just was late at night watching it, and Rich brought up the fact that, you know, they made sure it was a couple of years when I think after Saragusa retired, you know, Ray Lewis was in limbo as a linebacker because they didn't have the bigs they needed in front of them, and Ray Lewis had some struggling ass. Ray Lewis is the first ballot Hall of Famer, of course, but he had a couple of struggling years in between. I think Saragusa, and I think the next crew of dudes he had in there was, I think Noddy was the next dude. Yeah. Big Haloti Noddy. Yeah. And so I remember there was one off season and I was reading something in Sports Illustrated, and he said that, man, I don't have the big guys up front to keep me clean. And I knew exactly what he was talking about. That might go by, you know, right over some people's head that really don't know stuff like that. But I knew exactly what he meant. And right now, I feel sorry for TJ and Tremaine. There's nobody down there really that can keep him clean without Billings there. Javon's getting double teamed. These other guys, man, they can play, but not to the level of what you really need when you have girth. Like this guy, Jonathan Ford. He's going to be on the roster for the next 3 weeks at least, probably for the remainder of the season. We're going to get a good, solid look at this guy. And, you know, he's for everybody who wants to know, I watched him from Miami when he was a freshman. And this body you looking at right now ain't the same body that came into Miami as a freshman. Trust me, they put him in the Cuban neighborhood and let him eat all the shit, the beans, black beans, all the shit. He ate all that shit, man. He ate all of it in the middle of the night, and he turned himself into this. He did not look like this going into Miami, but he is absolutely a nose guard. He's a nose tackle. And what he does is eat up space and anchor. And that's really what you need right now. And it's funny that we got to this point in the season to realize like the guys that we have, we thought that can anchor and really, really leaned on these guys to be able to get the job done. They haven't gotten it done. And it took Thomas Brown to come in here and Ryan Poe to say, hey, what do you need, man? This running game has some holes in it. What do you need? We need some girth. We need some girth. We need some potluck. Big old fat MFer in there that can hog up some space, help keep these linebackers behind them clean so they can play downhill. This is just all you needed. I know a Cubano sounds good, man. I ate one once before. But go ahead.
They awesome, man. Cubano sandwiches, woo! Panini press, man. Whoo, that ham. Let me stop. But yeah, they should have known this as soon as Billings went down when they had nobody in the roster. Because one thing that people forget about Billings, he was probably one of the strongest cats that's ever played in the NFL. He bench pressing like 600 and something pounds just throwing cats. Like he was considered probably one of the top 2-3 strongest players in the league. And that's the reason why he was able to hold the point of attack every single play. And when you wasn't getting double teamed, he was pushing people in the backfield and making tackles for loss. So that's what you need. You need that power and that strength on the line to hold and to force the run to the hole you want to go to. That's really what it is. Now your linebackers can actually feel and start stinging folks at the line. Bow, or 2-yard gain or 1-yard gain, where instead of we giving up 4 or 5 yards consistently, 5, 6, 7, now it's a 1, 2 yards or 0 yards. God forbid you have a run blitz on. Now you really killing them. So, yeah, this ain't rocket science. I was a middle linebacker all through high school and in college. And I needed big dudes like that in front of me so I could just run and go make tackles or, catch somebody coming across the middle, on a shallow cross or whatever and tear they behind up where they ain't going nowhere. So I'm no impediment. I've got a 360-pound, offensive lineman coming up to the second level trying to block me, and I'm still trying to get to my man or to stop the run or figure out how I can outsmart him to get to the running back before he breaks off a nice run against me. So I totally understand. I think this is probably Washington's influence a little bit more than anybody thinks too.
Definitely. It had to come down to, let's have a meeting. And we meet up as coaches, what went wrong, and they're grading the tape and talking about what went wrong and what we can do to fix this thing. At the end of it, they had to come out of there and it's like, we got to go to Ryan and say, we need somebody. We need a body. We need a big body because Javon's getting eaten up. He's getting taken out of the game. Now everybody thinks Javon Dexter's not a good player because you don't hear about him. But there's a reason why, if you watch it closely, they can take him out the game without Billings there. And when you don't have a space eater that can really occupy guys, that's what happens to a 3-tech. That's really what we've been looking at the last couple of weeks since Billings has been out. You see a flash of Javon here and there, but there's a reason why he's really, really quiet during games. It's because you don't have that space eater that's going to demand. Like, you can have a big dude there, but if the big dude doesn't demand a double team, then it's just a big dude there. So I believe this guy's going to get opportunity. Jonathan Ford is going to get an opportunity, whether it be for good or for nothing at all. He's going to get an opportunity here in Chicago where he didn't get it in Green Bay, because they have a thorough defensive line. They have a thorough front. That defensive front is understandably a good reason why he's on the practice squad and not on the 53. They got a good front, really good front. And so, for all the people that look at this guy as just, bottom of the barrel, as Ked said the other day, and we scraping, no, this is a good player. He just was in a situation that didn't give him the opportunity. Let's see what he can do here. I got confidence that this guy can come in there and give us a little bit of a lift, man. I really do.
Another thing that people don't talk about is about Green Bay's defense. They got 8 or 9 first-round draft picks starting. You ain't starting over that. Basically, and probably a couple of second and thirds trying to be the backup. So if you're a 4th or 5th round draft pick, yeah, you in the rotation, maybe. That's why he's on the practice squad, because he wasn't a 1st or 2nd or 3rd round draft pick. He fighting for a spot, just like a lot of people that were playing good here in our secondary couldn't make the team. We had to let go because they were deep on the defensive line. And that's the difference between us and them in that regard. They may not have the best secondary, but they got a hell of a defensive line, which helps the secondary tremendously where they don't have to be as good because they're killing people up front, stopping the run and getting to the quarterback.
So, hey, listen, all I know is we had a need, and this guy can come in and help, kind of help that need. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that he's going to be the complete answer to any of our ails on defense, but you can't go wrong getting a bigger guy and putting him in there to help the situation, man. Those linebackers don't really stand a chance to have great performances without guys up front that can keep them clean. I understand Flus's concept of, going with the more athletic nose tackles behind Andrew Billings, but obviously that didn't work. offensive team seen that as an opportunity and a weakness without a big guy in the middle that they felt like they can hand it to us in the middle, and it proved right. And we got to this point in the season before we got to Jonathan Ford. It's, to me, mismanagement all within itself. But I'm gonna blame that on Flus for not asking for it. Like, the GM can go and ham-handedly go and grab any player that he wants to and say, "Hey, I got this guy for you to play with him." If the coach doesn't ask for it, then you're kind of out of line when you say FFG as a GM and going out and getting the guy just because you think he'll help. It's got to be the coach that asks for it, right? Am I out of line, or is that about right?
No, the coach is the orchestrator of, especially in our case, the defense. So he's got to say, "Hey, I need this kind of player. I need that kind of player. I need this size, or I need this kind of technique, or I need this speed, length, arm, width, whatever he says, or high football IQ, whatever, to be in my defense to help it orchestrate the way I want to play this, melody against this type of offense that we're going to face. So I can use him in different ways, and I can call this note whenever I need to." Because he writing the sheet music. The GM says, "Okay, I'll go out and get the people in the orchestra that you want. Now you got to be the maestro and play the songs." He don't got nothing to do with the conducting portion. All he's going out there to do is hiring the people that you want to be in your orchestra to sound a certain way. Just like football. These are players you want. This is what you want to run. All right, I'm going to go get them. I'm going to pay for them. You draft picks, whatever I got to do to make it work for your vision. When his vision is blurry in the mug, and we can find out.
Yeah, I can't wait to see if he can come in and give us something on the defensive front, hold up and give those guys a chance to play clean and feel like linebackers they should be doing. Those linebackers have to work way too hard with this light ass front, man, and it's just not cool. But that's my take on Jonathan Ford, 6'5", 338, active for Monday night. I look forward to seeing what he can bring to the table. He's going to play. I believe he's going to play. He's going to bump somebody out of rotation, but he's going to play, and I want to see what he can bring to it. But that being said, let's get to what I think everybody came here to talk about, and that's the main thing. That's the main thing, and that's this story right here coming out of Halas Hall from the Chicago Tribune, FFG, and Dan Wiederer, beat writer, and I'm paraphrasing everything that I'm saying right now because these aren't his direct quotes. I'm paraphrasing everything. So Dan Wiederer, if you want to sue me, find me and sue me with your ugly ass. But I'm going to paraphrase everything you had to say. Here it is from the Chicago Tribune. He says, Ryan Poles made the choice to hire head coach Matt Eberflus. And it was Ryan Poles who chose to stick with Matt Eberflus this offseason, despite differing opinions inside Halas Hall. This is per Dan Wiederer, beat writer for the Chicago Tribune, man. What say you about this? I'll hold my cannon fodder until later.
It's Friday night. I don't give a damn. It's a bunch of bullshit. Number one, because Ryan Poles technically didn't walk in the building after being hired and said, "Hey, I want Matt Eberflus." What happened was McCaskey and Bill Polian, who did the coaching search before they even hired Ryan Poles, said, who was going to make a good coach for, we need some new blood or whatever in here. Somebody, we want to go back to that defensive mindset. The Bears, we're going to ground and pound. We're going to open up the offense a little bit, but we need to be able to play quality defense because we've been getting our ass kicked, giving up 28 points a game in the first season, right? Before he even got there. And then he got there, they was giving up the same kind of crap because they didn't have the players. So Matt Eberflus is already on the table before Poles even walked in the door. Now, at the end of the season, what happened was the people that applied for the job, Ryan Poles said, "Okay, basically this is what he had to do." Because remember, there was no president at the time because old boy had stepped the hell off, right? Angelo or whatever left, right? Or Ted Phillips left. because he was like, I'm done. I'm not going to be here next season, yada, yada, yada. So that's why they interviewed so many people, including Thomas Brown, right? They didn't want who became the OC for those Redskins. They didn't feel that just because he knew Caleb Williams that it was going to be a right fit, because they saw what he did in Arizona. He lost a team, and every second half of the season they would start out winning, and then boom, they fell off a cliff. So he knew that he couldn't be able to handle that. It's one thing to do it in Phoenix. It's a whole other thing to do it in Chicago. So what the ownership said was, hey, we don't have a better option because we're going to choose Caleb Williams. Let Eberflus now build the team the way he wants. Bring in a known commodity, an offensive coordinator to help this kid. Your defense plays really well. You stick to that. And now we'll have a fighting chance based on all the weapons that he was told to go get in the offseason, right? He went and got a running back, went and got a number 2 wide receiver, right? They went and got a number 2 tight end, right? They went and got all these offensive weapons, but the coach didn't say, hey, we need to fix the line, the trenches. That was the coach, which he had to stick with another season. Then when he wanted to fire him, management said, hell no. And even after Thanksgiving, they had to get on the phone and go have a meeting when everybody named Mama knew he was getting fired. Let him go on TV or on the internet. Said, I can't wait till the coach against the Niners, blah, blah, blah. He got fired a half an hour later. So that is ownership meddling where they shouldn't be. And this is why I get so hot about these kind of things, because they need to leave football operations to the person in charge of football operations, because he could have been gone. The season could have turned around when we got smoked by New England, because the team basically after that Washington loss, where you start losing the team, and then next week you notice they didn't show up in Arizona. Didn't even show up. Like, they was basically in walkthrough drills for the next 2 games and got beat since it's at home. We had a 10, 11 game home winning streak. And New England walked in there and beat us like we were stepchildren. It was retarded and sad that he didn't get fired that day. But no, ownership kept on. So please elaborate on your thought process on this.
Well, I probably should have started with this. And this is probably the best place to start. And this was supposedly a leak that came out of Halas Hall. Do I believe it? I don't really know. I think Sylvie put his name on this one. And this is Ryan Poles. This is paraphrasing again. This is per Sylvie. And, I'll be clear with you guys. There's a handful of reporters inside that building that we over here at this network have had particular contact with and have had, dialogue with. And some of these other ones, like Sylvie, like Dan Wiederer, I'm not gonna put my chest behind all of that. I don't believe all of it. You know what I mean? But this one came from Sylvie, and this is actually believable to me. And this is Paul saying he isn't happy with the current arrangement. Says, quote, he didn't sign up for this. Reportedly, he was attracted to the job because he could go directly to the owner for any needs. And that makes sense to me. That makes all kinds of sense to me. And him being frustrated and a little bit flustered by the fact that now he's got to go through Kevin Warren to get to where he needs to get to is understandably frustrating. You know what I mean? That's understandably frustrating. That was one quote. And Mark Silverman from what is that? Let me make sure I got him right. ESPN 1000, I believe he works for. He said that. So let me get back to this. This is also some leaked information from sources and things like that inside of Halas Hall. I'm gonna read it one more time from the Chicago Tribune. Ryan Poles, quote, Ryan Poles made the choice to hire head coach Matt Eberflus. And it was Ryan Poles who chose to stick with Matt Eberflus this past offseason, despite differing opinions inside Halas Hall. I'm gonna tell you right what it looks like to me on the surface, and let's keep it here for a second. It looks like Ryan Poles leaked out his feelings to a reporter that he trusts, and it sounds to me like Kevin Warren leaked out to somebody that he feels like can help his situation out, and that was apparently Dan Wiederer. This is just my take on it, and I'll just start there. You don't got to get too carried away, FFG. Just tell me what you think about what you see on the screen. Where do you think that came from, based on what I just showed you?
I think it's more rumor and speculation than anything else. That these guys, they talk to a press agent, or because remember, all these dudes are standing there, waiting around for all these press conferences and stuff, right? And so they're walking the halls, they're in Halas Hall, and they hear a whisper, or they hear this, or they hear that. And then now they try to put a narrative to what they heard or what they think the conversation was about. And now they try to determine what it means, Now, saying that Ryan Poles made the decision to hire Matt Eberflus, I believe was put to him in different ways. Like, hey, Matt Eberflus is going to be the coach. Do you want to be the GM? And will you suffer through rebuilding this team with this coach? And that was the way I think it was put to him. And he was like, well, hell, if that's what I got to do to be a GM, I'm going to do it. And I believe at the time, before Warren walked in the building, the ownership was like, hey, you do what you got to do to get this team. I don't care if you gut slash, get rid of, cut costs, make us better in the next 3 years so we can compete and have a standard building block situation so we don't have to be in this situation every 3 years. And that hasn't come to fruition because of the coach. The ownership wanted to keep the coach because the defense played so well, despite all the losing, and the hiring of bad coaches by the head coach to be on his staff, which, if you got to look at it, like the way they're talking about Caleb is, coach killer. Eberflus is a player killer because he's hired all these terrible coaches that haven't developed. So name me somebody who's gotten tremendously better in the last 3 years under Eberflus's tutelage.
Well, what I want to concentrate on is whether or not you think, like the way I designed it in my mind was the timing. I think timing is everything in life, FFG. I think timing is everything. It's like when you do something is the most important thing. It's not you're going to do something all the time. It's when you do it that makes the most difference and impact on whenever you do something. And when those quotes came out, the Ryan Poles quote that came out, him being uncomfortable with the situation at that particular time. This is really fresh after that press conference. That quote came out. So this is how timing works. That quote happened to slip out. And this is post that comment that Ryan Poles had come out. These comments came out. And it's about whether or not you think it's credible. Do you think Dan Wiederer is credible? Number one, you said it's bullshit. I believe it's bullshit. But if it's true, I believe I know where this came from. And I believe this is a Kevin Warren passing information on to Dan Wiederer. That's just my opinion. Y'all let me know in the comment section whether or not you agree with it. But I think that's the chronology of how this shit played out.
If that is the case, then that's even more of a cluster, going on in Halas Hall, where you trying to manipulate the media after you already told everybody, hey, he's my guy. We're going to do this. We're going to get a new coach. We're going to build the Bears in the right way. But let me throw some shade on you real quick to make you. So if I want to fire you, now I'll have, some bullets in the chamber. You see what I'm saying? So he basically playing both sides of the fence if this is true. Now, number one, how the hell would he know? Because he wasn't even there yet. What Ryan Poles did or did not do, or what was transpiring in the Bears organization. At the time, he was still trying to get from under all the crap the Big Ten was going through with them lawsuits and, having to fire, having to put sanctions on everybody's favorite coach over there in San Diego, one of the Harbaugh brothers, so he had no idea what was happening in Chicago. And you can't tell me he was all looped in because they even hired him yet. So I really can't see how you trying to stir up a bunch of BS in the media is benefiting the team or the organization, and that you're trying to have look solid and have a positive future. I just can't see it.
So, you know what, man? I'm just reading the comments, and I respect, y'all know I respect y'all. I don't care if it's Black Diamonds, Crimson. I don't care who is in here saying what. I respect every fucking one of y'all in a big ass way. And none of y'all think you can come in here and your opinion ain't qualified. Every last one of y'all's opinion. We out here in the middle of the YouTube streets, just way off of what we do normally on schedule, man. And y'all here rocking with us. So I respect all of y'all, man, to no ends. I'm just human as anybody else. And I feel like, me and my way, the way I process thoughts and I look at the world, I put all of that together in conjunction and come to you guys with a synopsis of what I think is and isn't. And this article from the Chicago Tribune, let me qualify Petty Murphy right quick and Black Diamond, something he said earlier in the show. I'm gonna say this, man, and this is something I thought before I became a podcaster. I was like, whoever this Dan Wiederer dude is, he don't like the city. He don't like Chicago. He has total disdain for the city of Chicago. That's number one. And he absolutely hates the Bears organization, number two. And no matter how you view Dan Wiederer, if you rock with him or not, it's irrelevant to what I have to say here. From the outside, my perspective of Dan Wiederer, and I'll be honest, I've never met him. Don't know the guy from the can of paint. But from what I noticed from the outside, he's a particular reason why I became a podcaster, why I wanted to get in this, because I'm just like, who is this motherfucker? And why does he hate this city so bad? And why does every chance he get, does he just bash this city and this team? The team hasn't warranted that, to a certain extent. But the disdain that he has for this team and this organization and the city, man, fuck that dude. Excuse my language, but fuck him. I'm here to represent. I'm here to represent. And if you don't want to fucking be here, get the fuck on. Go take a job back down in Chapel Hill. Tobacco Road. That's where you came from. Take your ass back down there if you don't like it here. But it feels like a hit piece orchestrated by, I'm not going to put Kevin Warren on it, but this seems like it would come from Kevin Warren. I'm just saying. That's my take on it.
I really believe that the word you use of disdain is apropos when it comes to how he reports on the Bears and the city of Chicago, where it's more of a burden to him to have to do this for a living, even though he's in the second largest media market or third largest media market in the world, damn near, and your voice actually carries and means something. Because I used to watch him on the podcast that he used to do, Take the North or whatever with the other cat. It's on NBC on the Bears network on TV every day, right? I really think that he does not like the team, the situation he's in, the reporting he has to do, and he doesn't like the way the media works, where he's got to actually work for a living. And he's got to try to find this right kind of story to get press, to get his name out there. According to Tobacco Row, it was a lot easier in North Carolina because if you already established, everybody read what you said, believed it is, God's gift to the words regarding the football team or the basketball teams, or Duke and North Carolina or even Carolina Panthers, the Predators. Those kind of things. So it was a lot easier because you had not a lot of competition down there. Here, you got global competition reporting on the Bears. We got people that's actually from other countries that report on the Bears constantly, and even podcasters. Ain't nobody sitting in Dublin right now talking about how well Duke is doing, in this year's NCAA race, for the Final Four. BS. So I think it's the way to get his name out there. The more controversial stuff you can say, the more bashing you could do, because he understands there's a fan base out there that's fed up with how things have been going for the last 20 years, and he can feed off that, and he can get that emotion cranked to the fullest. And so those people that are haters or that are mad about the situation, he can get their blood pressure boiling through the roof and have them go out there and say on their podcast or in their job or their neighborhood or at the barbershop or wherever, to spew all kind of negativity towards the organization. Now, they ain't perfect. They've been fucking up, I ain't gonna lie, for a while. Bad coaching hires, GM that wouldn't do nothing, that was swinging for the fences with a team that wasn't going to win. They've had a lot of bad front office people. But when it looks like they finally got some quality ones, he's trying to create division to make it seem like, oh, here's the mystery behind the wall. Because if you notice earlier in the season, even last year, you didn't know what the hell was going on in Halas Hall. You didn't hear a peep about nothing. Now, every other day, somebody coming out and saying, oh, so-and-so said this, so-and-so said that. Really, they just automatically start talking one day because they fed up and we had a 14-game losing streak and you hear a goddamn thing? Get out of here, please. Let me know how you feel, Nomad.
Man, listen, man. I come from a different perspective. Not different. I'm just like everybody else. A couple years ago when I started this, and on the outside looking in, and I'm not directly from the inner city of Chicago. I'm from the outside suburbs, but I claim it. I claim it because I love it. I love it. I'm from here. You know what I mean? This is our shit. This is our area. We represent here, and we love our shit, and we love our Bears. And like it's always going to be. It's always going to go back to intent when I see people's quotes. And what I think his intent is to hurt, is to harm. That's just what I feel when I read Dan Wiederer's stuff. I see his takes on, when he's in the press room. I see his takes outside of the press room when he's on podcasts. His intent is to hurt and harm. He doesn't like this organization. He doesn't like this city. And it's clear and obvious. And I'm not going to be like every other podcaster. Oh, I heard Chicago Tribune and Dan Wiederer said that Poles made this. I'm not going to just fucking run with that and say that's the actual fact. No, I'm going to challenge this shit because I know what his intent is. His intent is to hurt and harm. He's one of those guys in that building that absolutely is a part of why this thing has constant turnover. And he knows his role. He knows his role, and he knows his words have weight and substance to it, and people are going to listen. There's somebody inside Halas Hall talking about Dan Wiederer put this piece out. And he knows what he can do with his words. That's the power of the pen, FFG. It's the power of the pen, and I don't respect this guy, man. I don't respect this guy. Of course, I don't know him, but his pieces seem to have a lot of it's just very, very it's a lot of malice to it. I'm just gonna leave it there, and I'll just because I can go on and on, man. But this guy right here, I don't rock with him at all.
It's a slanted view for defamation, if I look at it correctly. It's always inflammatory. There's never, if you look at anything he's ever done, there's never been a positive spin or anything, an outlook that seems like it's a bright future for the Bears. It's always doom and gloom and dismal, and so that's what he feeds off of. And he knows there's lots of viewers out there that feel that way, so he can tap into that aggression and that emotion. And it's easier to tear something down than it is to build it up. It's easy to kick dirt on somebody who's already down on the ground, stomp on them. You know what I mean? Try to give him a hand and get up off the ground. Like, hey, this is, you're going to be all right. nah, you stink, and we're gonna keep kicking you, and you can cough up blood because I think I'm gonna leave you here dead and stinking. And if that's making me money, great. I got lots of loyal followers, even better. And you have to rise from the ashes like a phoenix with no help from us. And there's a lot of journalists like that here in Chicago. That everything if you look at these press conferences, it's like there's no neutrality in the question they ask. It's always, well, why was you fucking up? Or why was this so terrible? Or what did you see here that screwed this up? It was never, hey, we realized that you guys were moving the ball. You guys were, doing well on this and this. Can that be a continuing trend? There's no optimism whatsoever. So I think that is where you don't see any kind of neutrality or positive spin that can even be put on any one of these reports. They want the shock and awe of it or anything that's said to get people talking.
I think it's a little more devious than that. I think, you gotta, there's somebody, and I apologize to you because I can't think of your name right off the top. Somebody said something to us in the comment section after some extra sauce. I think it was a short that I put out, and it was about the power struggle between Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren. That is clear, And one thing that he said is Kevin Warren. I was talking, and I think in that short, I think I was discussing the fact that Kevin Warren, me talking about Kevin Warren not being a football person, and you talking about, like me, talking about he needs to stay out of football decisions. He's a businessman, an administrator, and it's a PR person. That's his universe, and stay there. And I was talking about that, and somebody responded to me, or probably something I said in the comment section, and he gave me some context on Kevin Warren and his history, and I'm paraphrasing him. And he said Kevin Warren ran into a whole bunch of struggle in the Big Ten when he got there. And he ruined some relationships when he was there because he was trying to do this and that, and he stepped on some wrong toes. And there's a whole story about that. He told me to Google it, and I've yet to do it. And I'm going to and have more to talk about when it comes to that. And I'm not trying to take Kevin down as an administrator for the Bears, but I just don't want people to think of him as this, this knight in shining armor that's going to come in here and save the Bears franchise because his name is Kevin Warren and he has this kind of cachet. I think people need to see through this shit. And sometimes context helps you do that. And so that's one of the things I'm pointing out. I haven't gotten all the way into that story, but I'm going to look through it and see what we can make out of that, man. And we'll bring it to you people and let you guys decide what you think of it. But Kevin Warren is he's a business administrator and he's a PR person. And what's going on with the dynamics in Halas Hall is unsettling to me as a ex-football player because I know how successful franchises should work. And there should be order and hierarchy. And, the stuff isn't staying where it needs to stay. And that's what the football people, and while it's getting out of whack and falling into the hands of a Kevin Warren of the world, I need to speak up. And anybody that agrees with me or disagrees with me needs to speak up too, because I see a familiar pattern getting ready to happen. And it's not going to end up good for the creme de la creme of what we're doing all this for. And that is Caleb Williams. We keep having all this bullshit and all this topsy-turvy and bringing this guy, he's going to help. Man, dude, you need some continuity sooner or later, or you're fucked anyway. That's just my opinion. That we need to slow down and really, really take a good bird's eye view of what's going on and make our judgments from there and not be so emotionally reactive to every single thing that we see and hear and say we need to get rid of this and get rid of that. There needs to be some continuity inside that building. And if we don't have it, Caleb Williams, I'm afraid to tell you, is going to be a wasted pick and a wasted good quarterback. If we don't get some continuity, FFG, that's my biggest fear.
Well, this is all supposed to be for the benefit of a franchise quarterback to have stability in an organization. That is exactly what was supposed to happen this year, that the groundwork was supposed to be laid, that the foundation was supposed to be set, Now we can bring in a franchise quarterback into a quality situation, which everybody agreed was the best any rookies ever came into. And look how it's turned out, an average rookie season, because what the foundation was on shaky ground with who was running the team. A head coach who didn't make adjustments, who didn't work well with the staff that he chose, and they didn't develop players or have any continuity as far as the offense is concerned, because the defense is playing fine. I mean, I'm gonna lie, when eberflus was the coach, the defense played pretty damn good. The real problem was he interfered way too much in the offense, and they couldn't find a rhythm consistently. For the first half of every game, I think we've scored all of 27 points in the first half this year, maybe 40 in 13 games. That's atrocious. Not even the Giants and other losing teams with worse records than us have had that level of ineptitude in a half, or the first half of games. They may be getting their butt kicked, but they can score some points on everybody. We can't do that. But second half, we can blow you up. We make all kind of adjustments. Like, why didn't you make adjustments after the first series? If you're that good at seeing the situation, why can't you do that? Why don't you let your coaches coach and be prosperous and let the team flourish? And that's what I see. So for all the negativity that you see spewed on all these podcasts, these beat writers, all the national media and local media, it's going to continue until they show some modicum of stability and able to show that they can actually be productive as an organization at every level, not just one or two, because the problem is, this level might be doing great, this level is out of whack. This level might be doing great, this level is out of whack. They never have it cohesive. And that's really what the problem is. And that's why it's easy for people to put stuff out like this, because they're not all on the same page and not all on the same vision. They claim to be in all these freaking press conferences. They're not on the same page. They're not in the same rowboat. Let's go together. One person doing this, one person doing that. Just all over. And so y'all don't go nowhere in the water. Y'all just sitting ducks. And that's just how I see it.
It's unfortunate we're here, but this is Chicago, and Chicago comes with all of this. Every single bit of this is part of the tread. Every single bit of it. But what to do about it as a podcaster and our voice and our platform, and you guys that are in here commenting and letting us know how you feel about every single thing we saying. Here's the thing about this, what I'm about to say, and it comes to likes and subscribes right quick. And this is just a shameless plug. If you heard anything that resonates with you, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Just do that. If you disagree with something we said, it's still a reason to hit the like button and subscribe. Why? It's because your voice is going to get heard over here, and we'll have something to say to you all, and we'll speak to you all and have a response to it. But I believe the nature of how we cover this stuff, I think, is satisfying from my perspective, because I was on the outside looking in, just like everybody else was. And here we are, myself, Nomad, FFG, having a voice and having the opportunity to explain how we feel about the situation. And it's all of our love affair with these Bears. All of it derives from the love affair we have with the Bears, and explaining to you all, giving you all our takes on why we think this is that, why we think some of these things are happening, and the dynamics, and why there seems to be a recurring cycle. You know what I mean? And I can identify some of the cracks in the armor. So can FFG. So can you. So can you. You can identify the same fucking cracks that we can and speak your mind about it, and you can come in here and do it safely without nobody over judging you. That's why we think we've earned subscribes and likes. We don't think we just say, hey, we doing a podcast. Give us your likes and subscribes. No, we earn them. And I'm proud to say that. And so there's people out here right here in this chat right now that haven't had their voices heard. You can come over here and do it anytime you want to. You know why? Because if FFG can do it, your ass can too. So you need to come on over here to the channel and you got something to say about it. Ain't nobody going to attack you. Ain't nobody going to make you feel like you're lesser than. Nobody's going to do none of that shit. We just going to embrace you and hear what you have to say and love on you just like we do everybody else, man. FFG can testify to that. I'll pass it on to him for some pleasantries before we get ready to get out of here.
Hey, no maniacs. Nomad is 100% right. I'm like everybody else. I watched the show since it's been on. I really had strong opinions. You know, I put my stuff in the chat. And at one point I was like, because they was like bringing people on, they draft analysts and they, you know, picking any teams and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? That's not really my thing. But I would love to come and holler about some of the topics that I see that's going on. So everybody, please, if you want to have your voice heard, you want to be able to put your spin on your take, because everybody got a different aspect of what they see, how they feel, how long they've been a fan. You know, because nobody will tell you I've been a fan since I was a kid. So my love go back a long way, and it's strong. You know, it's tree trunks and oak trees in California. You know what I'm saying? But I wanted to give a shout out. I'm going to try to put my kid's hat on for a second. Give a shout out to everybody who was in the chat today. Marco King, it's Crimson Dig. He had a lot to say, like, as always, because he's on point. I'd love to hear what you got to say in person. You know,
Crimson is the shit, ain't
he? Man, he be getting me going. Like Derek Gibson always going wild. Patty's in the building. Cricket Commish, Mr. Mayhem. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people. You know, even like Michael Everhart has some really poignant things to say about how the team worked. And I was like, okay. You know, of course, Petty Murphy, Mr. Charles Johnson was here just chopping it up like always. You know, but we had a number of people just getting down. You know, they didn't not really said a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? You know, we had Benjamin Reza up in here. You know, we had AC Adam hop in the building for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Saron Collins, Chris Foster, a lot of people, you know, Flex Diggs got it cracking for a little while. Yeah, man, I'm telling you.
Crooked Commish was up in here.
Oh, yeah. He was one of the first people up in here. Yep. You know, so I really appreciate
Joseph Archer. No, wait, Joseph Archer. I got to make sure I give him a shout.
Oh, yeah, Joseph Archer. Yep. He jumped in, you know, give his opinion. That's what you want to hear. You want to have like-minded folks be able to express themselves about a team they love, because you wouldn't be here if you didn't love the Bears and if you weren't a quality fan. You wasn't fly-by-night. Well, I just watch the game if it's on Sunday. That ain't us. We really give a damn. We spend our money. We spend our time and effort, you know, and most of us read or watch videos constantly trying to figure out what the hell is going on and what we could possibly do to suggest to fix it, you know, because we want a winner. More than any other team out there or any other city, Chicago wants a winner. And I'm from East St. Louis, Illinois, you know, down south. And I can tell you, Bears country is great all over the state. It ain't just up here in Chicago where Nomad is, where a lot of people from. It is everywhere, because that is bred into you lifeblood. So thanks for everybody for coming out tonight on a Friday. I hope you had some fun. Enjoy your weekend. Hope your Christmas goes well. Nomad sent us home.
Well, I'm going to do just that and tell you guys how much I thank you guys, man. And you know what? It's off schedule for us to be out here on a Friday night. But like I said to you all, it's really hard, you know, when you're dealing with other people in their lives, and you really want to commit to doing a show every day, but you can't really, because everybody has stuff they got going on in their lives. And you know, we do it when we can do it, and we do it right, I believe. And I just want to thank you guys for allowing us to have a voice, man. The fact that you guys are here rocking with us every time we come out here, it doesn't matter if there's other podcasts that are bigger and have more subscriptions. I'm telling you right now, they juice all them numbers up. All of them. The subscriptions, the views, all that shit's juice. I'm telling you. It's called TubeBuddy. It's called TubeBuddy. They do it all the time. Just buy them. Just buy them. I don't give a fuck. It may look like one of these podcasts that we do has less significance because of the amount of views, but all our views are raw. These are raw, real views that ain't nobody fucking paid for. These are you guys coming in here making sure that you watch what and hear what we have to say. And I just thank you guys tremendously because we wouldn't have a voice without you. And I just love y'all, man. I really do. No matter what we do, 4 new shows that came out this season, and every last one of them, people have showed up. Whether they're light or whether they're heavy, people have showed up to make sure they supported them. And I thank you all on behalf of the whole Nomad Network, all of us, man. I feel confident saying that we all appreciate y'all. And I want to leave you guys with these famous words. And make sure you hit the like, subscribe if you're new to the channel on the way out, man. But if you can think it and you can see it, there's no reason in the world why you cannot absolutely manifest it. It's only don't be a creature of your mind. Get the hell up out of it. Don't be a prisoner. Well, with that being said, we are out.